Hi, everyone. Welcome to part one of this LIUniverse conversation with Dr. Franklin Chang-Diaz, NASA astronaut and founder of Ad Astra Rocket Company, and Miranda Chang, who is Global Communications Director at Ad Astra and Franklin's daughter. Part two of this conversation will be coming out about a week after part one, so be sure to keep an eye out for it. Please enjoy the LIUniverse. Hello! Hello, everybody! Welcome to the LIUniverse. I'm Dr. Charles Liu, your host. I would really appreciate it if you would please call me Chuck. Today, we have a wonderful show. I cannot wait to greet our guests. But first, as always, we say hello to our co-host, Allen Liu. Hey, Allen, how's it going?
Hello, it's going pretty good.
Good. Used any interesting devices recently?
Well, let's see. I 3D printed a new finder scope mount for my telescope. So I suppose that's three devices. I guess there's the telescope, the printer, and the finder scope mount itself.
Very cool. Wow. What was wrong with the old finder scope?
Oh, it wasn't quite, the one that came in the box wasn't quite perfectly shaped to the actual telescope. It was like for a slightly smaller scope, so it wasn't fitting snugly, but the new one fits very well.
Ain't technology grand. I love that. It's a beautiful segue into two people who are creating devices and rocket technology for this coming century for all of us. So I'd love to welcome Miranda Chang and Dr. Franklin Chang-Diaz to the show. Hello.
Hello. Pleasure.
Hello.
Thank you so much for being on. Miranda, tell us a little bit about yourself and the kinds of things that you're doing right now that have to do with this particular subject that we're discussing today.
Yeah, absolutely. So I am the Global Communications Director for Ad Astra Rocket Company. And basically what that means is I am kind of the science communicator on call.
Wonderful.
Whenever we are discussing our technology with anyone from shareholders to high school students, I help package up that message.
Wonderful. Wow.
Nice.
Now,
Yeah.
this is Ad Astra Company, which is not Astra Company. That's a different company,
Yeah.
right? Ad
Yes,
Astra.
Ad Astra
Ad
Rocket
Astra.
Company.
Right.
Yeah.
The first time I heard the term Ad Astra was actually on Schoolhouse Rock. On Zero My Hero.
Yeah, the zero one.
Right?
That was good.
Yeah, right. With 3 zeros after any number, and you multiply that number by 1,000, etc., ad infinitum, ad astra, forever
Yeah, it
and
was great.
ever.
It's probably
with
as
zero,
much as we can sing
my
without getting
hero.
copyright flagged.
How wonderful you are. That's right. Ad astra meaning to the stars, right? Which is wonderful. Franklin, I should call you Dr. Franklin.
No, just Franklin.
All right, we'll call you just Franklin then.
We'll call you just Franklin. Franklin, tell us about what you do.
Well, I'm supposed to be leading this company, although I think Miranda is the one who really runs the place. So yeah, but I'm the CEO of Ad Astra Rocket Company officially, and I've been doing this for the last 18 years.
Aha.
So the company started about 18 years ago. We used to be part of NASA. And then we spun out of the space program.
Classic space spin-off story.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very exciting. Now, were you doing stuff for NASA while you were connected to NASA?
Yeah. I spent 25 years at NASA as an astronaut. I was. I was. I was having all the fun. I was. I started in the astronaut program in 1980. I was selected in the 9th group of astronauts.
Whoa!
And was very lucky. I got to fly many times in space.
How many?
I flew seven missions.
Seven
missions. Actually, it is the world record.
Yeah, that's the most of anybody. Holy moly!
Yeah, it's pretty nice being at the right place at the right time. This the right moment in time. Yeah.
Well, I mean, right place and right time. It's true, but obviously you're being very humble because if I had been at the right place at the right time, I would not have been selected. So it's a whole different dynamic. Anyway, that's wonderful, Franklin. I can't wait to talk with you about all this stuff that you're doing, both past and present. Thank you so much. We will, as always, begin with today's joyfully cool cosmic thing.
All
Or
right.
is it the cosmically cool thing?
No, you got
Alan,
it right the first time.
I
Yeah,
got it
every
right
so
the first time.
often
Okay,
you
very
mess
good,
them
very
up,
good.
but this time you got it.
Thank you. And it has to do with a NASA mission, specifically a mission that's sending a robotic explorer to the asteroid belt. It's called Lucy. And Lucy is a name, of course, of also a famous fossilized pre-human, uh, a Australopithecus that was discovered in East Africa many years ago. Now, what happened was that Lucy, on its way to its final destination over the course of many years, is passing by numerous asteroids. And one of the asteroids it just passed by is called Dinkinesh. Dinkinesh is coincidentally, or maybe not coincidentally,
Yeah, yeah.
the name of the Lucy fossil as given in an Ethiopian language, right, Alan?
I believe so.
Um,
Yeah, I can check which
yeah,
language it's in if you'd like.
yeah, probably like Amharic or something like that. But yeah, anyway, this asteroid, yeah, look up
Yeah,
exactly where it came from.
Amharic, yeah.
Amharic, okay. And what does it mean? It means like awesome or
It means
marvelous or
you are marvelous.
you are marvelous. Anyway, Dinkinesh, yeah, it's great. They're just going to pass by and take a picture of it, make sure all the cameras work and everything.
Yeah, the
But
asteroid Dinkinesh, yeah.
yeah, the asteroid Dinkinesh. But as it did that, Lucy mission found out that it's a double asteroid. There's actually a second asteroid orbiting this first one, which is
Awesome.
totally amazing. Yeah, and this asteroid is not that big. I mean,
Mhm.
Dinkinesh by itself is only like, 500-600 yards across or something like that at its narrowest point. So it's only a few football fields, and yet it has its own moon. It's a double asteroid.
Yeah.
And it's one of the coolest like discoveries that you could just accidentally discover. I think that's just a marvelously cool thing of the day. And there's even more cool about this because apparently the second asteroid part of Dinkinesh actually has its own second asteroid.
Yeah, it's a contact binary. It's a contact binary. So they've just
What is
released an
that?
image of it. It's when you have two asteroids that are touching each other but not physically, like stone-wise connected. So there's the main asteroid, and then there's this contact binary that's orbiting the main asteroid. So it's a
Unbelievable.
plethora of asteroids going on.
Out in space, right? Millions of miles away from Earth, and you have this thing happening with like rocks out there. They're doing their own thing. It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's like world for worlds. Franklin, you never, I guess, got to see an asteroid out in space, but you did a lot of stuff out in space. Were you on the flight crew as a scientist or as a pilot or anything, mission commander kind of things? I mean, or did you do all of the above?
Pretty much all of the above. I did a lot of things having to do with operations and just making things run, um, accomplishing tasks that needed to be done in space. I did a little bit of repairs. I did three spacewalks.
Wow.
Did some construction work on the International Space Station. We were building it at the time, so
Awesome.
I got to put a piece and bolt it down and make sure that it didn't fly off. And
Whoa.
and there was one mission where I had to repair one of the EVAs, one of the spacewalks. I had to do some repairs, so we did pretty much major surgery on the robotic arm of the space station because he had
the Canadarm one.
The Canadarm 2, the one on the station.
Nice.
It had a broken articulation. One of the motors of the wrist of the arm was failing, so we had to replace it. So
that's cool. Yeah, people talk about rocket science being hard and surgery being hard. So you imagine rocket surgery would be even harder.
Yeah. So
wow.
A lot of exciting stuff, and then a lot of Earth observations, medical research. So you kind of end up being a jack of all trades.
Wow, that's great. Is your background in medicine or engineering or that
engineering? Engineering, physics, applied physics. I'm basically just a glorified plumber, electrician. So
you're a very humble, glorified plumber, Franklin. That I'm in awe right now, let me just
Thank
say. But I can't wait. We'll talk more about this, okay? I want to hear lots and lots of stuff about. I want to talk much more about the astronauty stuff as we go on later in our conversation. But right now, let's get into this actual possibility of us going out to places like the asteroid Dinkinesh and so forth. Miranda, tell us about this Ad Astra Corporation and what you guys are trying to do, which is so cool and new that NASA, supported you, and then now you're spun off in your own corporation.
Yeah, sure. So, our main flagship project is the VASMIR engine, which stands for Variable Specific Impulse Magnetoplasma Rocket Engine.
Whoa.
It's awesome.
Yeah. It took me a long time to learn how to say that fast. No, it's really interesting, and basically what it's offering is a new type of in-space propulsion.
Wow.
Yeah.
Electric in-space propulsion. So it's high power, which is kind of new as far as electric propulsion goes.
Yeah.
And because of its power capability, it basically opens up a lot of possibilities of what we could do in space,
I see.
not being limited by fuel.
So
Yeah.
the current electric powered engines are these very low power ion propulsion systems. Is that right? And so Franklin, how are these VASMIR systems different from the existing, say, heavy ion propulsion systems that are electrically based?
Well, they're much more powerful, just the way Miranda described.
Mhm.
So we're going from a few kilowatts to hundreds of kilowatts, and maybe
Wow.
all the
Whoa.
way to megawatts. These are
It's like a power plant.
you can imagine the difference between the power of a hair dryer, for example, and the
Uh-huh.
power of a diesel engine in a
Whoa.
truck. So
Okay.
big muscle, big power, but also the efficiency
Mm.
of the electric thruster. So we want to capture both of these features in one package.
I see. Because
Yeah.
those hair dryers are very efficient, but they're not very powerful. Is that the point?
Exactly. The ion engines and the Hall thrusters, they are extremely efficient. 10 times, the fuel efficiency is 10 times better than the efficiency of a chemical rocket.
Hmm. Okay,
Yeah.
well, Alan, do we have any questions from the audience? Let's get as many questions as we can in, because this is a great opportunity to learn some cool stuff.
All right. Let's start with Mohammed's question. Mohammed is asking, engineering is problem solving. What happens when you cannot figure out how to solve a problem?
You work, in space. You work the problem until you find a solution, and you never stop. You never stop. There may be no solution, but you will continue to search for one, and eventually you have to find something to work. Yeah, to either solve the problem or work around it.
If I can add to that, I think that it's kind of an interesting question, because I think the whole idea of engineers is that there is never no solution. Like, there is always a solution.
Ooh.
They're always working to find a solution. That's something I've observed, at least from working here and working closely with the engineers here. Every time I think we're done, there's no solution for that. They have like 3 on hand. So
Oh,
I think being an engineer is like never accepting no solution.
Yeah, what I often see from like friends of mine and stuff who are in these fields, it's like sometimes it's the solution is like not to solve it the way you thought you were going to, but like you go and come up with a solution to a related problem that ends up working just as well here as
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Wow, that's pretty remarkable.
I kind of wanted to dispel the notion that some people say that failure is not an option. In our world, it is an option. In fact, failure is always an option, because failure is how you learn.
I see.
So we have a lot of failures here in our laboratory. In fact, most of the stuff we do actually fails.
Oh,
very rarely
in the envelope. Yeah.
Very rarely do we get it right. And I remember my professor used to tell me, Franklin, if you do an experiment and everything works, you've learned nothing. So you've done the wrong experiment. So
wow,
it was an interesting way to put it, but that it's very much this notion that failure is not an option I know it's been propagated as a mantra for NASA and the space program, but it's not really like that.
I see.
No.
So failure is not discouraged. It's actually embraced
Right.
as a way to learn and to
Right.
improve on next time.
Now, giving up is not an option. That's
there you
maybe
go.
the way that may be the way to
That's,
put it.
that's a great point. That if we can get our minds around the point, like Muhammad is asking, right? Not thinking of failure, same thing as giving up. Failure is not giving up. Giving up is not an option, but failure is totally okay. So that
Yes.
means you're not giving up. I think that's a great point.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's a great answer to this point. Now, Miranda, just from your answer there, I am inferring that you're not actually trained as an engineer. You're
Oh, yes, that's correct. That would be 100% correct.
really? So how did you get into this thing? I mean, what kind of stuff do you do? What is your background and everything?
Yeah, well, I brought so the company is very small. We're a very small team, and I like to think that we're doing really amazing work. But the story, the message of the work that we're doing, that kind of we haven't developed that fully in a full capacity, and so that's really my job and my role here is to try and build that story and tell that story to other people, digest the you know the science and the engineering and physics, and try and present it as something more palatable to broader audiences.
So you're a storyteller. This is
Yeah.
your background. You tell stories.
Yeah.
Wow.
Exactly.
And we need those stories even for something as technical as this. Are you saying that your activity, the sort of creative storytelling, is a big part of, even though what we're doing is extremely technical?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think it's critical. I think people are so, we're given so much information now. If it's not easily digestible, we'll leave. We'll go to the next thing. We move on. And when it comes to getting support, whether that be funding or hiring people or talking to students about what we do, you want people to feel like they understand and they're engaged in it. And that's the only way they're going to be excited about it.
Wow.
If they don't understand, they kind of write it off as something that does not affect them. And space is already hard to message about because most people don't really consider themselves connected to space, even though we use space every day in our daily lives. And so that getting people to relate to what you're doing, the more people you can get to relate, the better. So I think it's very critical.
Wow.
I really appreciate that end of things a lot. Like, what we're doing here at the LIUniverse and so forth is some of that too. But also just how much of the coolest things that come out of science are related to those stories, both the human stories, the scientific stories, the histories of everything. And people are inspired by the space program. People are inspired by deep sea dives and people doing geologic drilling or any of these other sorts of things because of the stories that are attached to them. So I think,
absolutely. Yeah. And I think it's almost to the other end. There's so many things happening that if they don't have a good storyteller, we won't know about them,
Yeah.
Wow.
And I think that's what I came into when I started working here is we had this group of brilliant engineers making advanced propulsion systems that could totally transform the way we move around in space. And nobody knew about it. Nobody had heard of us.
Oh my God.
And that's okay. But that's the role is to try and help people connect to what we're doing.
Marvelous. But you were spitting out those technical terms about Vasmir and rockets just fine. So I infer that you have also become quite the plasma physicist yourself in the process of learning this stuff. Is that true? Is that a fair statement?
Say yes.
Well, I try. Oh, did you say yes?
Franklin says say yes.
My boss is saying I have to say yes. No, I think even though I lack technical and scientific training, I am a very avid learner. I love learning. I love asking questions. I'm very vulnerable with questions. I don't mind asking the quote unquote silly or stupid questions. And so I've spent the last 6 years just asking all the questions and forcing everyone here to explain everything to me, and so I've gotten the opportunity to learn.
No, that's great too. I mean,
yesterday we had a long conversation on orbital mechanics, and she learned
woo!
all about heliocentric trajectories and spirals and all those.
Wow.
Yeah.
And the progression of nodes and the all those kinds of weird orbital dynamic stuff, which I barely remember from even my formal training. Is that what we're talking about?
Well, it's even funner than some of the planets themselves, because you have the accelerations besides just gravity going on too, right?
That's true.
So.
That's true. Have you gotten to the precession of perihelion of Mercury yet? Giving some general relativity into that conversation?
She hasn't gotten to that point, but it's coming.
It's coming. You can't avoid it. But that's great, Miranda. I think that's wonderful. You don't need formal education in something to be good at it, right? And this is true even for rocket science, which I think is a great, and you're like a living embodiment of that kind of optimism. I think it's terrific. So
yeah, definitely.
So tell me the story then, right now, in a 60-second, some short period of time. Tell me
more than 60 seconds specifically.
Okay, it could be more. Yeah. Right. Tell us the story of Ad Astra right now. The story, and let's hear it. And we're by the fireside now. We're like in front of the fireplace or around the campfire. We're just kind of sitting there, and you're going to tell a story. This is the story of Ad Astra.
Okay. Okay, well, that's tough. Let's
That's
see.
fair.
Let's see. Well, I think it kind of starts with Franklin. I mean, he came to this country for a very specific reason, with a very specific dream, and throughout that journey, things evolved in ways that maybe we didn't expect, and he became very enamored with energy and propulsion and kind of the science behind his original goal, which was to become an astronaut.
Wow.
And and then he actually started the project on the Vasmer engine before even being accepted into the 9th class of astronauts. And so he kind of has brought it along with him. And I think maybe at first it was, let's build this cool rocket. And then after going to space, maybe a little bit of this overview effect that we talk about with astronauts.
Wow.
He started to think about it in a different way. And now I think the goal of this engine is to really change what we can do in space. We're very limited right now, with our technology and how we can move around in space. There's lots of space companies, there's lots of ideas, there's lots of things we need to do and we want to do, lots of motivation, lots of excitement around space. And we're really just missing the engine that can.
Yeah.
The little engine that can is very much what we are. We're the little engine that can. And so I think that's what we're working on, and we're getting really close. I mean, really, technology-wise, we've come a very long way, especially from just when I started. And now it's really more the expensive part, which is building something that we can put in space and show everyone that it works the way we said.
This is totally amazing. We've got to get more into these stories. What a wow, nice job. Like telling the story of a rocket company. I mean, well done. That's great. So let's build on the story more. Franklin, Miranda told this glowing story of you exploring, and you came to the United States from Costa Rica specifically to become an astronaut. Is that what you wanted to do?
That's right. It was one of those childhood dreams. I was not the only one that had those dreams. When I was a little boy, back in the early 50s, lots of kids like me wanted to be, well, there were no astronauts in those days.
Yeah.
But we all wanted to be space explorers.
Mm.
And so being a young man with those kinds of dreams was not that unusual. What tapi was a little strange is what I kind of never grew up out of it.
I love it.
And I
know a thing. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I just want to tell you I know a thing or two about never growing out of things. So
yeah,
I think Alan can tell me can say that is actually true, and
that is
so
fair.
I love that. Okay, please continue. Go on.
Well, no, so that was what moved me to come to the United States, and but it was also the times. The space program was in full swing. The country was getting ready to go to the moon. The Apollo program was captivating, the imagination of all the young people, and I was swept into this whole wave of space, just along with everybody else.
That's awesome.
And I just kept on going, and I never really, I wasn't looking at the end point completely, but I was just being, allowing myself to be carried by this tremendous wave that was going on.
Oh, that's wonderful. So what
And
was your
so,
entry point into space? How, I mean, some
well,
people
yeah,
go in because they're pilots, right? And other people go in because they're scientists and stuff. How did you
well,
make yourself indispensable?
yeah, well, I wanted to pursue space from a scientific point of view,
Hmm.
from a technical point of view. I mean, I love flying. I learned to fly when I was in college. I became a pilot, just a private pilot. I was never in the military, so I didn't go into that track. But I felt that ultimately astronauts would be scientists, but more like operational scientists, and explorers that were able to also, operate the controls of their spacecraft. So it was
Wow.
a kind of a combination of all of those things, and I followed an experimental physics track, and I was an engineer, but I spent a lot of time in the physics laboratory,
Mm.
working with gadgets, and it's just I kind of live in that sort of fringe between physics and engineering, and then eventually became a citizen of the United States.
Yay!
And
Me
it
too.
all kind of began to happen, and at one point NASA issued a call for a new group of astronauts for the space shuttle program, which was just beginning.
Wow.
And I sent my application, and I was rejected. But like,
But failure is not an option. No, I'm kidding.
giving up is
Um,
not an option, so I didn't give
giving
up.
up is not an
I
option.
figured that eventually there would be another opportunity, and the opportunity came later, 2 years later, and I applied again. And this time I was called for an interview, and I began to see myself in a smaller and smaller group, and the odds began to get more interesting until May of 1980, when I was called by NASA. They told me you've been selected as a member of the ninth group of astronauts for the space
Wow.
run. And that
That's
day,
awesome.
my life changed completely. There was no turning back, and
Yeah.
it was the beginning of a dream realized. I, 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 I wanted to fly in space. Figured that I would fly once, or maybe twice. I never imagined that I would fly 7 times. I never imagined that I would fly all of the space shuttles. That I would
Wow.
to the to the Russian space station Mir. That I would help build the International Space Station. I mean, I just can't get over
Wow.
how lucky I've been, and
Well,
have a lot to
again,
thank
that
for.
that's amazing. And again, I'm just impressed by how humble you are. That you're saying you're lucky and everything like that. But you don't just get lucky, be picked to go up 7 times. I mean, you actually had to be pretty darn wanted to be up there, right? Because there are a lot of people that want to go. So you were on every single space shuttle, like even the
Flew
ones that
flew
were destroyed.
all the ships except for the Challenger, because
Oh,
the Challenger exploded just right after my first flight.
Oh
I
wow.
just
wow.
came back from space. 10 days later, the Challenger exploded,
Oh,
and
Dang.
funny thing is that our crew had been assigned to that mission.
really?
Yeah, and
Wow.
we were moved to an earlier flight, to the earlier flight of Columbia, which took off just essentially 10 days. Well, I mean, there was a difference of 10 days between our landing and their departure. And so
Wow.
um, so I'm here to tell you the story. I I wouldn't be otherwise. Right?
Wow.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Cosmic coincidences and all that, right? But it is true. I mean, this space is still an adventure. It is still a risk. There are still a lot of things we have to think about, and I'm sure that that's on top of your mind as well as
Yeah, it is, and it was very much so after the Challenger explosion. You kind of I went to the launch pad with a different mindset, with a different um, sense that I could die.
Wow.
And but the people who really suffer is the families.
Hmm.
The crews, the crew members are in their activity. They're doing what they want to do. It's exciting. You don't think very much about getting killed.
Yeah.
But the families are sitting or standing there at the launch facility watching, and they can't do anything.
Wow.
That I think that must be really hard.
Well, Miranda, was it hard?
It was very little.
Yeah, I was very little when I think I was alive for the last two launches, and I remember one of them, um, and he had to when he was working at NASA as an astronaut, he also still had before the Advanced Space Propulsion Laboratory, he had his project, the Vasmer project at MIT in Boston,
Mm.
and so he was flying back and forth a lot. So he went on trips a lot, and so I remember that launch, and like we were all there, and it was like a big deal. But I was like, isn't he just going on another trip? I don't really understand. I was like, and then we see this big, rocket, fly into space, and I was kind of like, that's a really crazy looking plane. Like, I've seen something like, but I was very unaware, and it wasn't until much later. And it was a bit, I'll be 100% honest, it was a bit sobering. Me and my sister talk about this a lot, but much later, all these pieces started to tie together as how dangerous it was. And I still don't even really like watching space movies, like astronaut movies. It makes me a little like anxious, but um, yeah, I mean, we have they're called oh, I forget what they're called, but it's astronauts who are not assigned to the mission that your family member is on.
Oh,
They're like
Family
guardians
escort.
or
Family escort.
family escorts. Yeah, yeah.
family
And
escorts.
and so they'll come and they'll like try and distract you. And if you have kids, they'll help whoever's staying behind, whichever spouse is staying behind with the kids. They'll help, distract them, take them to Disney World or land or whatever, go swimming or go to the beach because it's usually in Florida.
Yeah.
And I always just thought, oh man, Uncle Ronnie's so cool. Like I didn't think about like how that connected until much later.
Wow.
And so I think it was a bit sobering for me. It'd be interesting to hear what Lydia and the other sisters thought, but
Wow.
yeah,
So
yeah,
so
it's
that
scary.
yeah, but that's pretty amazing that there is actually this family connection and how you uh I don't think I've ever heard any family member of an astronaut talk about that childhood experience. That's really a story in itself, isn't it, right? And
Yeah.
as a child, now that connection has led you to now working with your father in this amazing new technology development and all that work. That must feel super cool. Hi there. Hope you've enjoyed the first episode of our conversation with Miranda Chang and Dr. Franklin Chang-Diaz. Be sure to check out our second episode. There's a lot more great stuff that we talk about. If you like what you see and hear, as always, please support us on Patreon. And as always, thank you for being a part of the LIUniverse.